Hello, hello.
And welcome to the Hildebrand Law Firm topic for today.
I'm Kirsten Hildebrand.
And I'm Matt Kaplan.
And today we're going to talk about Medicaid and the family residence.
Yes.
What happens with the family residence when somebody needs to get ready and prepare the finances for Medicaid?
So the questions that people ask us the most are, if I get sick, am I going to lose my house? How do I protect my house? Will Medicaid take my house after I pass away? These are the three most common questions. Let's just answer them in order. So will I lose my house? If you don't do any planning, the short answer is you could.
Well, not during your lifetime, right? Because most of the time, if you have in your power of attorney for finances a statement that says that you intend to return home, then that goes a long way towards making it impossible for Medicaid to force the sale of your house. There are situations where Medicaid does force the sale of your house in order to pay for your care now, but the vast majority of the time, they don't really want to have that bad publicity.
Right.
Right. And so everybody always wants to go back home. And as long as you express, I want to go back home, then what they do instead is they place a lien on your house. So you don't lose your house during your lifetime, but you might as well, because just as soon as that asset becomes available through your passing, then that's where the lien that they have placed on your house now becomes something that they make good on. They file an action and they take your money that way. So if you were thinking, Medicaid won't take my house, so therefore I get to will it to my loved ones, the answer is that probably will be intercepted at some point.
Exactly. And excellent point with the intent to return home language. A big thing that people need to understand is that you can intend to return home, but you got to put that in writing somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's in all of our power of attorney for finances. If you have a good power of attorney for finances, it should be in there. Sometimes someone just writes it on a piece of paper and has someone witness it or notarize it that they intend to return home. But if you don't have that writing in there and you intend to return home, and then you go to a nursing home, they can take your house if you don't intend to return to it. And so that's a situation of while you're living, they can take it. Also, another situation of while you're living, your house could be gone is if you don't have things set up properly, and or your kids or whoever is taking over is not educated. They might sell your home to pay for care because they think that that's what they need to do.
Right. That is a big, interesting point, Matt, because a lot of times people think that there is no other way than to sell the home. And so then that is what they do. And what it does is it takes away the ability to protect that home and make it a point of protection for future beneficiaries.
Yeah, and some of the ways to protect the home. So I'll go over the ancillary ways, and then I'll go over our favorite. Oh my God, you can probably guess it's with the trust. Yeah, it's with the trust, of course. But some ancillary ways that you can protect the home. So way number one, if you're a married couple, let's say you have one spouse that's in the nursing home, and you have one spouse that's healthy, called the community spouse. If you have one spouse living there, but one spouse goes to the nursing home, and the spouse in the nursing home passes away, nope, they're not taking the home immediately after that spouse passes away. But what are they doing, Kirsten?
Again, a lien on the property.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's one situation where you can protect the home. Another situation where you can protect the home is if you have a disabled child living in the home with you. If you have a disabled child living with you, also there's Medicaid allows caregiver exemptions. If you have a caregiver who is a family member living with you, or a sibling caregiver who was living with you at the time, then Medicaid's not even going to attach a lien to the home.
Under certain conditions.
Correct.
You have to have a caregiver agreement in place, and it has to be at least 2 years of provable time that you have been caring for the parent who otherwise would be in a nursing home.
Correct. But in my opinion, that is the silliest way to plan. I don't know anyone who's like, all right, Dad, you're going to a nursing home in 3 years. I'm going to move in with you so we can protect the house.
It is a little interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not something to plan. It's something that if it's happening, you should contact Hildebrand Law Firm so that we can help you put the right measures in place, the right documents in place, so that then there is a protection for the home that happens in a different way than if you had rolled the time clock back 5 years and put the house into the trust, and then it would be absolutely protected.
And then before I get into trust, here's one way you can protect it, which I would never suggest, which is the one that everyone comes to me and says that they did. I wonder if you can guess. What is something that everyone's banker or accountant tells them to do with the home?
Put it in the kids'
Yes,
names.
yes. And what do we think
Yeah.
of that? Do we think thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs down, big time. Because why? You have no idea what that child is going to get into or what's going to happen. I mean, if you put the house in the name of the children, let's say you've got 3 children, you put the house in all 3 of their names, you now have exponentially, and if they have spouses, you have now 6 ways that you could lose that house through anything that any 6 of those individuals decides to do or has happened to them. So if somebody goes to Potawatomi, blows the wad, now there's a huge debt. That debt can attach to the house that you are living in, and there is nothing that's going to stop that house from being foreclosed upon and that money going to Potawatomi.
Right. If one of the kids gets divorced,
Yes.
one of the kids gets divorced, congratulations. Your home, a small sliver of your home, now goes to the spouse that you probably didn't like to begin with.
And who's going to pay for that? And how is that? It might result in a forced sale of the house, and you never anticipated having to leave that house. Or, of course, a car accident. And this could be in the millions of dollars if the person who is your child or the spouse of your child is now the one that is at fault. Then that is obviously an asset that's available for making the other person whole. So, who's most likely to get into a car accident too? The parent who's maybe in their 80s, who doesn't go out very much,
Or who drives at 20 miles an hour.
and who drives at 20 miles an hour and stays on the side streets, or the child who's 25 or 30 years younger, who's still on the interstate, moving and grooving, going everywhere, spending a lot more time in the car.
Right. So that is a way to do it. In our opinion, that is probably the worst way to do it.
Yes, definitely.
Best way to do it, shocker, with a trust. Get yourself, but not just any trust. Not all trusts are built the same, and we've gone over at length in other videos about the nuances of trust. Type of trust that we're talking here is a Medicaid compliant asset protection irrevocable trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of words, so let's call it irrevocable trust for short. But really, it's a type of irrevocable trust that is Medicaid compliant, that is meant to protect whatever assets are held by it.
Yes, and by the way, there are many types of irrevocable trusts.
Right.
So a lot of times we will hear people say, "Oh, I have an irrevocable trust." That doesn't mean anything.
Right.
That's like saying I have a car, because what is in the car? What kind of engine does it have? What kind of brakes does it have? What kind of equipment is in there, and what's the quality level of all of that? So in the same sense, there's many types of irrevocable trust. It is very important to not think that one irrevocable trust is necessarily an asset protection trust or a Medicaid compliant asset protection trust. So there's lots of different ways that can be developed.
Right. It's like those cliche things when you're on an airplane. Oh my God, is there a doctor on the plane? And someone raises their hand. It's like, oh yeah, I have a PhD in physics.
Right.
It's like, no, we were looking for a medical doctor. Well, be more specific, bro. Technically, we're doctors. How cool is that?
That's right.
We're
That's
Juris
right.
Doctors. But if anyone's ever sick on an airplane, yeah, we're not gonna.
No, I'm not gonna raise my hand
Nope.
and say I'm a doctor. No,
we know the liability.
Right, exactly. The Good Samaritan rule does not help as much as you would think.
So exactly, and it's the easiest thing in the world. You put your house into the trust. This way, anything happens to any of your kids or their spouses, doesn't matter. Their name is nowhere near the home. Their name is nowhere near the trust.
And you control that asset.
You control everything. If you want to
yes.
sell it, you still can.
Right.
If you want to sell the trust when it's in all your kids' names, do you think you need their sign off?
Yes, they're the ones that have to agree. And what if one of them has, God forbid, passed away? Now you've got another big issue. So, yeah, the list kind of goes on and on. But I think that most important is to come sooner rather than later. Because when you come sooner to get the assets that you want into an asset protection, Medicaid compliant, irrevocable trust, those assets will have the time to get past the 5-year look back period, which is really an interesting loophole, if you will, that Medicaid continues to allow. We don't know how long they're going to allow for it, though. And that's another element of Medicaid that needs to be understood is Medicaid law is not static.
Nope.
It is dynamic and it is changing. And so the look back period has been different amounts of time over various years. And we'll get into that in a different session. But point being, if you really want to make sure that your property is safe from being available to pay for nursing home care, then come to us sooner rather than later.
Right. And one last point. When it's in that trust, it's protected during your lifetime. And then we mentioned earlier that if your home is not protected, Medicaid can attach a lien. And then after you pass away, they can take title of your house, sell it to pay for whatever lien they have. If it's in that irrevocable trust, can they attach a lien and sell it after you pass away?
Nope, they cannot.
No, they can't.
They can't. So that's the clincher. Well, we are here for your today and your tomorrow, and we would love to help you out with that and any other issues that you might have. We will see you next time.